All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Sucks Cricket. And this is our second video in English. Let us know in the comments what you think about it. Today, we're going to talk about the ongoing India-England Test series happening in England. We're in the midst of the first game, so we'll do a bit of a cover of that, and then we'll eventually talk about our favorite Babar Azam joining BBL. I think that's an interesting topic. The king. I mean, I don't know if he's still the king, but anyway, we can talk about that. So, starting off with I think it's the second day just ended, right? It's been a pretty fast game,
Yeah,
as
second
always.
day ended.
With whenever England's involved and you have Bazball, like the effect of Bazball, like things tend to happen pretty fast. If I sort of give a recap, and then I think Faisal, you can kind of like jump in here, but I think England made a lot of mistakes when they were sort of like during the time that they were bowling, because I felt that they're the ones that won the toss and they put them into bat. They didn't maintain their lines or they weren't as accurate as I would have thought they would be, especially in their own conditions, which then sort of meant that India would put up a big total, especially under like the kind of batting lineup that they have right now. Um, and I think 200s as well from I think one from Jasprit. 300
Three.
actually, if you count punts as well. Um,
Mhm.
so I think a really good overall batting effort from India, because even though like the bowling wasn't up to mark, but you still like scoring, for what was it, 477 or something? I think I didn't check the score at the end, but scoring almost 500, and then I think England sort of did the same thing where I think India also made some mistakes. So it's been a bit of like shabby bowling from both ends. And both sides have arrived in terms of the batting. But what do you think? Do you think that it's been, because to me, like it's been a bit of a lukewarm test. Like I thought it would be, like especially with India having a new captain, England would probably come out aggressive, but it felt like a little bit like they're still trying to figure out what their strategy is going to be, and it's a long series, obviously, so it makes sense. But what do you think?
Well, the first thing is like it's a lukewarm test because you have two personalities that are missing. That would turn up the heat. So, but setting that aside, I think I agree with you. So England did make a lot of mistakes while bowling. I also felt that it was very obvious that they were missing a couple of bowlers. So Gus Atkinson missing due to injury, who had an amazing summer last year debut. Um, he's one of those Hazelwood type of bowlers, sort of hit the mark, keep plugging away, and then eventually get you a wicket. So they were clearly missing him, and then they were missing the pace of Mark Wood too, who's also injured, who may come back in the fifth test, best case scenario. But if he's out for the whole series, that actually does work in India's favor. So I felt that they missed them. India, on the other hand,
Miss
uh,
Bumrah.
the only bowler that was really causing any problems was Bumrah. Like the ball that he got Crawley out on, that was
But they
unbelievable,
missed, like, what I
basically.
was going to say, sorry to cut you off, was like they missed the Bumrah that we saw in Australia, and I think it's probably because he's been playing cricket for a long time now. Like he didn't really have a lot of breaks because he didn't have the same sort of penetration and the same sort of like, I shouldn't say passion, but just that energy, because I could tell that he was a little bit off. Like he wasn't prime Bumrah like what we saw during the Australian series.
I think for Bumrah's case, it's going to be interesting how India manages him through the Test series because he has been saying that he's probably not going to play all five
He
games.
can't.
Um, so that's going to be a question mark on um, how the rest of the series pans out anyway. Whether he's full fitness or not, nobody really knows. It seems to be that he's fine, but it's also the second day of the game, right? Like if you're bowling well, and if you have your bowling partners also bowling well, then you can sort of afford to kind of take a bit of a bad seat. I don't think India had bowled badly. It's just that other than Bumrah, nobody else really had or created any close to any chances, right? And even the wickets that fell, like Ben Duckett was bowled because he went for a flashy drive and he inside edge and got hit on the stumps. Root was a good delivery, but he could have left that alone. The only good ball that really got a wicket was the one that
Yeah,
Crawley got in the first or second over. Other than that, it seemed like the attack was pretty like
on both
subpar.
sides.
And on yeah, well, England is missing bowlers. India, this is their bowling lineup. Like they didn't really sit anybody out. So I feel like given the conditions and the way the pitches are probably going to play, um, it's going to end up becoming a batsman contest. And then it comes out to like who can play that brand of cricket better. England is going to play the way that England is going to play. They're going to play at 4.5, 5 and over, and then they are going to give you chances. India doesn't typically play at 4.5 and over, which they did in the first innings. And if they continue to bat like that, and England figures out somehow what lines and lengths to bowl, then that might make things interesting. Right now, I feel like the test is 2 days. England is well almost halfway through the lead. If the pitch plays like the way that it is, it's hard to see how you can really get a result here, unless tomorrow India comes in the morning, they just bowl them out, and you are setting up a test match that could probably end in 4 days.
Yeah, I mean the pitch was a bit surprising for me. Um, it didn't.
If you look at the county season that England had last year, it seemed like England. So there are a few grounds where you will get ball to
Mm,
move around, right? And you will obviously have the swing come into play, but there are pitches which tend to be batsman friendly, and this is like even the Ashes series, like even that series, this ground, like the pitch was batsman friendly even
mm.
then too. So I think that what they're going to try and do is basically create a bit of a balance. So you have 5 test matches. You'll have a couple of games where the pitch will assist the bowlers, and the rest of the games will probably assist the batsmen because you want the test matches to go into 5 days. You don't want an India England test match finishing off in three
Mm.
days. It's bad for the ICC, bad for TV rights, right? So
True. I want to make some money. What do you think about Gill's captaincy? I think it was. I mean, it's too. I mean, it's kind of a stupid question because it's not like it's only been 2 days. But I had to ask because obviously, he's the new captain. I think because
what do you think?
I mean, I haven't really seen anything because it's only been that like the only thing that I saw was the fact that like he was. I didn't see anything extraordinary. Granted, though, like with this sort of bowling lineup, like with Bumrah, you don't really need to tell him anything. Like he just sets his own
Yeah,
fields, does what he wants. And with the other guys, like I didn't see anything. He was just essentially that's just like standard Test match cricket, right? Because and I think with Rohit as well, we had the same thing. Virat was a little bit different. That's why I liked his captaincy because you would see him doing like weird things. But I think it's a bit too early to tell right now, like what kind of captain he will be. Like I
yeah.
think at the end of the series is probably when you can sort of say, oh, he made, he was good, or and that depends on the quality of the cricket too, right? So if there's games where there's things happening each session where then his captaincy does come into play, then or like his captaincy is
Mm.
required in that sense, then I think we can probably make a better judgment. But for now, like pretty standard stuff.
So you have to remember a couple of things, right? Like when Virat became captain, he was essentially sort of stepping into his peak. Everybody who knew who he was a phenom in Test cricket. He was basically just making runs for fun, and he was a phenom in ODI and T20s as well. Gill is not what you would consider a phenom in Test cricket yet. He has done well in one day. I don't really remember any innings of note in T20s, maybe apart from a few in the IPL. So he has to sort of first essentially make his place firm
Mm,
in the team. Because before the series started, if you remember, there were calls
mm,
to drop him because he wasn't fulfilling his potential. So that obviously has to come into play. Like, he has to basically make sure that he has a place, and then he can essentially exert his authority on the rest of the people, especially when you have guys like Bumrah, who apparently said no to captaincy, and Pant, who a lot of people were thinking could get captaincy,
mm.
also in the team. So that's one thing. The other thing is that it's only been 2 days. Personality wise, he's not someone that's very similar to Rohit or Virat. He's sort of his own person. He seems to be a lot more laid back and a lot more calm. So it will we'll have to sort of see how he progresses through the test series to really get a good understanding of what he is like as a captain. You still have personalities on the field like Pant and Siraj and Bumrah, who,
Jaiswal.
if you were to line them all up, you those are the people that you
Mm,
would notice, right? Gill would sort of
yeah.
disappear anyway. Virat was not that guy. Neither was Rohit. So I know there will be a lot of comparisons because of who has captained India before him. But I think it's too early to really make a
Mm.
judgment call. We'll have to see how things
No,
go.
I agree, and I think we'll cover the series as we go along. And I think stuff will become more clear. And I agree with you. Like I think he's not like he still has to prove his own mettle in Test cricket.
Hmm.
So, and I think we can probably have another video on that. And there's a separate discussion that can happen on just around what happened with the Indian captaincy. But sort of shifting gears into BBL and your favorite Babar Azam, the King,
Yes,
King
King
Bobby.
Bobby,
I you know
big
yeah
signing, man.
I mean what I was wondering was why did it take BBL so long to like this is the first time he's playing in the BB like right, and I
Yes,
don't remember the last, although no, Haris Rauf played in the BBL, so that's
Shahid Afridi has
yeah,
played in the
I
BBL.
never really followed it as much, so
Yeah,
I it was never a thing for me,
yeah.
but like I think that it took a while for them to sign somebody like Babar Azam, and especially like he's sort of like if we don't know if he's reached his peak and now he's kind of declining, like that's debatable, but signing him now sort of is an interesting thing, I think, for me at least.
So a couple of things, right? Like BBL typically is in what the northern summer, right? So it's sort of you're moving into the Australian winter. You have to remember the PSL would, like, if it happened on schedule, it would be ending maybe a week ago, but they had to prepone it this year because of the other international schedules, right? So normally Pakistani players are probably not
Mm,
up for the draft. Um, you'd have had examples of people playing, like Haris Rowe was a good example. Hasnain
mm,
played there too. I think Shahid Afridi was probably the first signing that they did, and there have been a couple of, like, I think Asad Shafiq played a few games too. So you have had people from Pakistan playing BBL. I think that apart from maybe Shahid Afridi, Babar Azam is probably the biggest signing that they've had
yeah.
from Pakistan, or actually from an international perspective, because Indian players are not
Yeah.
allowed to play BBL, and most of the other international players are probably going to be from, well, South Africa, West Indies, Sri Lanka, like all the
Yeah.
other nations, right? Like English, there are a few English players that play there too, but Pakistan is a big brand in cricket. They're the fourth largest cricketing body outside of India, Australia, and England. Um, and Babar is a big brand, right? Like he's going to sell jerseys for them. So it is. I agree with you. It is interesting that they've signed him now, considering that he's sort of, well, people have been saying that he's in a bit of a
Mm.
decline. But at the same time, um, it's a business decision for them. They want to sell jerseys. They'll get people to come into the games regardless, because Pakistanis will want to watch Babar Azam play. So you're going to have full houses. And who knows? He might actually, like, he did show signs in the PSL and the series before that he could probably, like, he's there, but he's just not fluent enough. The pitches there might just suit him, and he might just hit form. So, and if he does, it's good for Sydney, it's good for the BBL, and it's good for the
And I
game.
think it'll be interesting because, traditionally he's had some issues with bounce, a little bit of pace early on. And I think in Australia and the way that the game is played in the BBL, it's like very aggressive, right? So it's like it's very fast,
Yes,
which is sort of contradictory to his style, which is more of like an anchor innings play style. So he
yes.
might be able to learn a lot while playing that brand of cricket. Maybe it could have been that he was approached back in the day as well and never decided to do it, and then we never found out. And maybe he feels that this might be a bit of like a kickstart to to try and get him back into a bit of a T20 form, especially with like the World T20 coming up, right? So I think
All the other interesting thing to consider is that Mike Heston, ever since he's become white ball coach, he basically came out very openly and said that Babar is still in our plans for T20. Aga said the same thing as well. He's the captain. So instead of, and I remember before the World T20, there was a moment where um, there was conversations around, well, why is Babar going and playing uh, the T20 league in Sri Lanka? and people were like, well, it makes sense because the World Cup is sort of in subcontinent conditions, so he'll get used to the conditions beforehand. So who knows? Like Hessen probably would have told him that I don't want you to play these smaller leagues. BBL is a bigger franchise. Go there. You'll probably face better quality bowling. The pitches are going to be bouncy and they're going to be fast. He likes pace on the ball
Mm.
anyway, and he has a decent record in
Mm-hmm.
Australia. So who knows? It would have been a very strategic call to send him to BBL, um, get him to go and play in those conditions, and show that he can play in those conditions and play that brand of cricket, because that is what brings him back into the Pakistan T20
Mm-hmm.
mix, right? Continue to play in subcontinent conditions and sort of playing the same way that he has been playing up until now. I don't think that even though he should have a place, but I don't think Hessen will think that he
Yeah.
has a place.
No, I agree. I think this will. That's why I was saying, like, I think this might be a way to kickstart his career. And for us, I think we'll end up following the BBL. We'll
Yeah,
cover that. So anyway, I think we'll sign off for this video.
yep,
Please comment, like, subscribe. Let us know who you think will win. This first test between India and England, and let us know what you think about Babar Azam joining the BBL, and we'll see you guys next time.